All right, we're on.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. The time is 6:30, and with us today is Attorney Chris Hood, Kim Van Beck, Roth, Patrick Knight, Michael Gary, myself, Bill Lovis, Ben Peters, and Craig Schulte. Is there anyone else online, Patrick, or is that it? Oh,
Chris Hood right now.
okay.
We will have one more guest joining us, John Loy, who's an engineer on some of the projects on the agenda.
All right, thank you. All right.
There you go.
There he is.
Is there anyone here for open forum this evening? All right, thank you. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are a few items: fisherman picnic bingo application, temporary liquor license for North House, that legacy grant, and then the LMC liability waiver, then along, of course, with our minutes and bills. Anyone have any questions or comments?
If by approving the consent agenda, are we then choosing to not waive the tort liability limits in the?
We're choosing to not waive them.
Do you want to add that to a discussion item instead?
I just wanted to clarify what, I think last year, I've seen it both ways, but.
Yeah, and it's
We have
not filled
waived
in,
them
so.
for several years.
What was that, Kim?
We have not waived the liability.
In the past.
For several years, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to move that so we can talk about it more, or?
I don't need to, no.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was.
Okay.
knew what we were-
Make sure, anyone else have any?
Just reminder the
yeah.
the Cook County Real Estate Fund has made a request.
Mm-hmm. We'll do that. All right, and would anyone like to make a motion then to approve the consent agenda and also to remove the temporary use of city land, the request by Cook County Real Estate Fund?
I will make that motion.
All right.
Second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving on, we have two development agreements. First is Hamilton Habitat on 11th Avenue, and the others is Petters 3rd Street Development Agreement. We'll start out with Hamilton Habitat.
We have John Loy online with us, who is the engineer designing both projects. If we have any questions about the projects you want to ask, he's available. Otherwise, this is virtually the same contract, both of these projects. Hamilton's project is the lots that Hamilton Habitat purchased on the east side of 11th Avenue above 2nd Street. That's also the driveway access to Homestead Cooperative. There is not utilities in that chunk of 11th Avenue, and so those lots don't have access to municipal sewer. They're not big enough to build on. You're probably familiar with that, all that part of it. She's proposing to add water and wastewater mains up a portion of the block and put service lines in to serve those properties and develop them residentially. So this is about as standard of model as we can get. I like that, but these will be paid for by the developer. They'll be turned over to the city. We'll own and maintain them, and there will be more housing built.
If I look on page 76, that has the map, are just the two lots so above the house that's on the corner, there are 3 lots. There seems to be, is that technically a street that could go through there? I see a space.
It's just loading up. That's an alley. So
Okay.
the plat for 3rd Street, if you'll remember, 3rd Street used to be the main road into town before Highway 61. And so when it was platted, that's when all these lots were platted, they put an alley that was adjacent or parallel to Third Street on all those blocks, so there's a T-shaped alley in all those blocks. You're just catching the edge of the T-shaped alley. The lot that's above that is served, there's a house on it right now, and it's served with water and sewer off of Third Street. And then you can probably see those little white rectangles that are just above the road where it turns. Those are elevation marks, and there's a lot of them there, which is just indicating that the hill gets pretty steep right there as you're going up towards Third Street.
So we really are just looking at the middle two lots.
Yep.
That join each other, okay.
Tracy, if you could, you're muted.
Oh, so I must have hit back. Accent was on. Thanks, Patrick. But these could be divided in potentially how many?
I think both of these lots, there's two lots that have their own separate parcel ID numbers right now, and I think both of them are big enough to be subdivided again under our residential minimum requirements.
All right. And there's no need for road improvements with this?
No, the improvements are planned to be off to the east side of the road. Obviously, the driveway is going to be affected, but the driveway itself is already serving, how many units are in Homestead?
26.
26, yeah, so we're going to add a couple more to that number, but there's not a lot.
Okay. And there's no curb and gutter on this side, right?
No,
Okay, so they just put in their driveway.
yep. There is drainage. Most of the drainage, I think, is probably caught on the other side of the driveway. There's a rain garden actually down there that's just grass and a way that the water gets into our storm sewer. But if there is any drainage on this side, it's just gonna be flowing along the road, not along the curb.
Of course, I'm making an assumption they won't, that they will put in a driveway?
Well, you can see the little tabs out.
Yeah.
They're heading towards the bottom of this drawing,
So
but
that
to
will
the
be the
east.
actual plan for it, okay.
And the aerial photo on this plan set isn't up to date. Right now, there are building pads on both of these lots and driveways.
Oh, okay, so I'm just
I'm
not
not
seeing
sure.
it, all right,
Get on Onyx or something.
okay. All right, and according to, let me go back. 33, let's see. And when you get in the map, you have to minimize it, and then when I go back to the regular pages, I have to bring it back again. So the current and final plan is to put on 2 single-family lots? I mean, you make the comment it's large enough to accommodate more. Do we have a final on this, or?
There is no development plan associated with this. We know what Hamilton Habitat's typical style looks like since they've done it a lot. But when these utilities are in, the property will be eligible to be developed however our zoning allows it to be developed.
And are we agreeing simply to this with, and I mean, it's just, we're just working on agreement to get utilities in there,
Right.
and then, so then they could sell it as well.
They could.
Don't they have a building permit for what they wanna do in there
No.
yet? That hasn't been filed?
No. We told them we wouldn't approve it until there's,
Right, but it has not been submitted.
so they haven't submitted land use permits.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, cause she said that they were all ready to build, but they wanted this done, they wanted to do it simultaneously, so I kinda figured that the building part of it was kinda like coming soon.
Assuming she has that plan,
After
which I
this.
would tend to believe is ready to go, like she
Right.
said, It would not take long to administratively review and approve those land use permits. We talked about this, previous meeting, that the development agreement does anticipate that idea, that we might grant a land use permit before the utilities are complete, but that we won't allow those structures to be occupied until the utilities have been tested, accepted by the city, connected to the lots.
Till it's hooked up, okay.
Well, I kind of feel then, which is, I thought we were doing a simultaneous deal so that we'd know and she'd know. Now I feel like we've kind of flipped that around. Only thing we know is utilities, but we don't know the ultimate on the property then. She wanted to be, she wanted to be able to go in and build without knowing where we didn't know for sure, right, about the utilities. So it feels like it's flipped, not becoming, together parallel process anymore. And I guess I did catch that on page 34, that it just proposes a project. What happened to the concept of a parallel, I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but a project?
I'd expect that to still occur, and what's parallel is not the decision you're making tonight, because you weren't gonna be making decisions about the land use permits anyway. That would be an administrative function in the office. What's parallel will be construction happening on the utilities at the same time construction's happening on the homes, if she decides to go forward with making those land use applications.
Provided there's no variance or any other.
Right, I get
It
that,
seems
but,
pretty, like it is straightforward, they're just asking for the water and sewer, and once we say that's okay, then,
we don't know what we're getting.
well, we weren't in a position to approve or disapprove.
But we would have known. I thought we were gonna do a deal where you would administratively do your permit, and then we would do this, and so we would know where this would be.
Well, no, I don't think that was ever, it couldn't happen where we would do the permit approval before the development agreement. We don't have the authority to approve these permits until there's utilities. And the development agreement at least allows us to know that they're coming. Before this development agreement is approved, we couldn't consider land use permits here.
And what I'm hearing is that it's like that whole, it hasn't stalled out. This is something we have to approve to get the water there. Once that plan is in motion, there may be some mechanisms by which you could allow her to also do building, not waste the summer, and provide some assurances nobody's gonna be living in a place that isn't serviced by utilities.
Yeah. But I think I'm hearing you ask a different question, which is, weren't we gonna see what she's gonna build before we decide to allow the utilities to be built?
Well, to some extent, because, I mean, I know that's what we're trying to help accomplish for her, which I totally see, but I thought it was sort of it would end up being a hand in hand. And she has publicly stated that she's not sure what she's going to do now on her videos. She thinks this is what she's going to do, but we're kind of trying to help her do this, and I just would like to know what is this going to end up be then. I mean, I get the whole thing about, let's get this rolling and the seasonality of it all. And then I've heard that possibly that's not what she wants to do.
I would also think it's difficult to necessarily forecast what I'm gonna do if I was a developer or builder without knowing the costs associated with getting that water and sewer in and starting that process. So,
Well, I think she does know that. That's why there was a lot of issue and why she wasn't going to develop it the first time. I don't think there was any uncertainty that this would be costly, which is now even leading to still some of her uncertainty. I also, noticed that there's no wetland mitigation, and do we not need to be concerned about that every time we're dealing on a hill? And it seemed the last time we talked about that particular area, and it was some years ago, but all in that portion of things, that there are issues with that.
I don't think it was this piece in particular, but stuff above,
general
above
area.
Third Street
Yeah.
was where that's definitely an issue that's been identified. When we do land use permits on a piece of property that hasn't been touched before, we do have some review process. At a minimum, they have to go talk to the county staff person who is administering wetlands on our behalf, and there isn't any concerns from them about this piece of property. The development agreement, talking about wetlands, really would just be limited to this piece that's gonna be affected by the construction of the utilities. And there's no wetlands there that are being affected, so that's why it's not
So
in
the
the,
agreement is so minimal, or I mean the work, I see what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
And, the paths are there, right?
pads are there,
Yeah,
yeah.
so. Cart before the horse.
okay.
So is the road going up into, the apartments that are currently there, is that privately maintained? Snow plowed and that kind of stuff?
I'd say a combination.
Okay.
Oh, that's, the whole street is the homestead's private?
It's not their private. This is one of those places where, had this been built in the last 20 years, we would have required Homestead to get a license to build this driveway rather than just have the street the way it is. So it's kind of in between private and public. It's more public than private the way that it is right now, but since they're really the only property owners that are currently using it, it's also kind of their driveway. They paid for the paving of it. It's really just designed to serve them right now, but it'll also do fine to add these two or potentially 4 more properties to it.
So that would then be, if there's any issues around plowing, that would be something those future property owners would work out individually with Homestead?
I think that we'll be participating in the plowing of this road until it's clearly their driveway. So we do have a lot of stuff like this where there's a little stub, and if the grader isn't gonna drive up and plow it, then we'll do it with a truck. But there's also situations like this, like 4th Street below the courthouse is a dead end that the grader does push down, for instance, so.
Okay.
It'd be a combination of forces, and I'm sure it won't be the same every year, right? Well, we'll be changing it as circumstances change.
Okay, so they won't need to work that out.
No, I don't think I would consider this a private street even today,
11th Avenue?
yeah.
Well, where it makes a turn and goes into Homestead, that's like technically private land.
When it gets across their property line, it's clearly private. Everything else, it's acting like a private driveway, but it's in a public right of way. We don't have any sort of side deal with them that requires them to maintain it.
Okay.
So it's mostly like a public street.
Okay.
So nobody in here needs to worry about road maintenance agreements or anything like that?
No,
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
Well, these 2 cleared building pads, do we know, are they situated to indicate that they're planning on doing 4
no,
lots?
No.
they don't say that
Did
to
you
me
go
at all.
there? I mean, it's
I haven't been
pretty-
there physically, no.
Yeah, it's pretty clear, like 1 and 1. So the 2. But and where the look, I mean, just me looking, and they're kinda like right there. I don't know if you're gonna squeeze in another one, but I suppose.
But that's, putting that building pad in is the cheapest part of this project, so if they wanted to contemplate changing it,
Yeah,
I wouldn't rule it out. The way they're sitting right now, they're pretty clearly designed for one structure on each lot. They're kind of centrally located.
I'm not exactly,
Well, the driveways are essentially located.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure listening to Anna's broadcast, but it sounded like there was a thought of, I hate to say this, it'd be better if she said this than me, but that possibly they'd only do the lower two. That's why I was kind of concerned, that's why I was a little confused when I saw the three lots there. But within the two they own, just on the lower end, and not use the upper part of it, and even potentially sell it. So,
I've got the updated aerials up on the screen now.
Oh, that's how they're
Thank
brushed
you.
out right now, okay.
that helps. And that gets back to what you were saying, Mike, about the ability to divide the lots again. Would you be dividing them horizontally?
Yeah.
To do that? Okay.
Each one of them, our minimum lot size is 40 foot of frontage, 5,000 square feet. So each of these is 10,000 plus square feet and wider, or I think they're probably 80 each. So I think you could cut them into half. Again, those pads really wouldn't work to do that.
Okay.
So we've got evidence for what her intentions are. That's the best we can do. And then when the utilities are in there, whatever is developed has to comply with our zoning requirements.
Sure. Now I gotta go back to this map, and this is more just to help me understand how this works. So the drawing is already showing where not this one, but
Yeah.
where the utilities are going to come in at. So if you changed your plan at all, then you'd have to redo this, and we're approving this.
Yes. You tell me if you want it to be that tight. I think that we probably would allow changes to the design after the fact, as long as from an engineering perspective, they are acceptable. But if you want that to come back to you for a decision, then let me know that too. Like, it would be a simple change for them to put 4 services in instead of 2. And they're paying for it. We wouldn't have to change any language in this contract to accommodate it, as long as it's approved by what we say is the city engineer, and in this case, John can serve in that role for us. So,
I mostly think, I don't always think about the project at hand, but I think of it as an example of learning in general. I would have never thought to ask that question, and I would have never thought that you could make those kinds of changes without us knowing it. I thought when we approve this, this is what we're approving. So I'm not so sure I have any real things about this particular project, but it is giving me pause to think, what is it? How tightly, or if I see this is what I'm approving, I'm assuming this is what I'm approving. And once again, my comment is more just generally.
yeah.
And-
Think
and
about
it
the
does.
timing of this. If this was done and 3 years later, they wanted to come in and add additional services, that's not something that we'd bring to a council meeting to approve. That's something that happens semi-regularly. If a new building's gonna be built infill on existing utilities, that they just dig a trench in, add a new service line, and put their house on. As long as it complies with the zoning ordinance, there's really no policy level conversation to have about it. And if you look at 8th Avenue, for instance, there's good examples there of infill houses that have occurred in the past 10 years, and you can see the scars where the new service lines were added.
Except in this case, like when you look at the map that has the pads and the way it's set out, it agrees to this. Okay? And I don't know if you centered 2 houses there, would you even have space for another one? You'd have to.
Oh,
you
no,
know
if
what I
you're-
mean?
Right, they would still have to comply with the zoning ordinances, and there's no way.
Yeah,
if
so
they
I mean,
plunk
this
them in
isn't
there.
a really good example of that.
Right.
Because if they did it the way they're doing it, they're they've kind of locked in.
I think
But
it's
the
better to
concept
think that
is-
what we don't have is a development plan that shows exactly where they're gonna put houses. All we have is, they've put some gravel up there, but we've also heard them talk about considering different options. And so we don't have any assurance about, there's two single-family homes and they're gonna go right in the middle of these two lots.
Right. Okay. All right.
But the zoning would allow up to 4 lots without any variances, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? No? All right. I assume we're going to do these separately, of course.
Yeah.
Whoopsie. Would anyone like to make a motion for approval of the Hamilton Habitat 11th Avenue Development Agreement?
I would like to make that motion. Does it have a number?
A second?
Doesn't have a number.
Oh, like a resolution?
Yeah, I was thinking like it's got a number, but it doesn't. I did make a motion, I'm sorry. Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further comments or questions?
In terms of process, there are steps after this that she'll have to comply with. They won't necessarily have to come back here. But we don't have the financial security finished yet. She still has to complete that. She's working on providing the proof of insurance. She still has to complete that. Everything else is ready to go. She does have a contractor lined up. You can see the quote in there. So this looks like it's pretty close.
Yeah, because she had said before she had everything ready to go
Yeah.
and was just waiting for us to with that.
With the utilities.
All right. All in favor of the 2H's, this is not good. Hamilton Habitat 11th Avenue Development Agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh,
Aye.
okay, sorry, didn't hear that. All right, there we are. All right, next is the Petters 3rd Street Development Agreement. And we're once again talking about utilities being brought in. And this, of course, is once again just about the utilities. However, developer is proposing a project consisting of 3 1- or 2-family lots. What does that mean, the term family lots? So we're 1 or 2, what does that mean?
I'm gonna share my screen again.
Okay. And that's page 79 if anyone's looking. I'm assuming that's not like a city zoning.
It is
Or
referring
what? Or do
to
I not get
zoning
that?
language.
Okay, thank you.
And in this case, we don't know how those lots would be shaped and oriented. So this drawing is showing the whole block. So the east half of this is not part of the property that's being proposed to be developed here. It's already connected to utilities. The west half of this, are you seeing my, you probably can't see my, yeah, it's too small. In any case, the west half of this is what the additional water and wastewater will allow to be developed. And I think I'm just gonna try and get
I
this a
thought
little
we
bit
had
bigger.
Oh yeah, we don't have a map, we've just got the one, page 119. Is that what you have open to? Yeah, it's just a
This
little
is a
high.
similar drawing, but I asked
Oh.
for a few changes on it to try and talk about some of the things a little bit better.
So we don't actually, now that you say that, we don't really have a map like we did with the other one.
Because this second part of the block over here, right now it's got the letters A and B on it, and then this narrow potential for a utility easement kind of idea. There isn't a way to look at these yet. There's not separate parcels with separate PIDs here like there is on 11th Avenue. This entire block is platted, but the lots are all running east-west until you get down to 3rd Street, and then they're running north-south. And so this is gonna end up being some strange recombination of those lots as they're platted, rather than being able to show you this is the rectangles they're gonna be proposing. In some ways, I think that brings us right back to the same conversation with Hamilton, which is we don't really know right now where the buildings are gonna go, what they're gonna look like, how big the lots are gonna be. We have a concept that they're working on, but what we know for sure is that they'll be developed in ways that comply with their zoning requirements.
Which are fairly broad. So, you just touched on this, between A and B, that space is,
They're calling it utility easement. None of that is relevant to what you're approving, other than to show you one of the ideas that they have for how they might use this. But that stuff is not really, you're not approving an arrangement of lots here.
right, I'm just trying to understand what this is.
So what you see down on the road itself is currently there are 3 sets of services that are gonna be added. And their thought is that there's some combination of 3 different properties that are gonna be connected to these utilities in 3rd Street. That, you know, in ways that our zoning would allow them to be developed. And we don't have any more specificity than that right now.
How would the C property be accessed? Which I know isn't part of the utility thing, but I'm thinking out where does the future hold,
I think there's options for that.
such as,
There could be a driveway coming right up the middle of this block that gets to a slightly higher spot for a building. There could be a driveway that uses 7th Avenue West where there's an existing drivable spot right now using a license agreement. Could be accessed on an easement across one of the lots. All those things have been used in different places in town.
well, it's up on 4th right now, right?
The existing license agreement is up on 4th. There is an existing drivable space on 7th that could be improved into a driveway and we could use a similar license agreement there.
That goes from 7th to 4th.
Doesn't go all the way up,
No,
no.
I mean, but 7th could be used as a driveway.
Yeah, I mean, it's being used as a driveway right now.
I mean, I'm just looking back at proposal 1, proposal 2, and now I'm looking at this. And this is exactly what we didn't want them to do, is bring water and sewer up through the middle of the block. Didn't we want it to go up 7th? Isn't that what our verbiage was through all the meetings we had about water, sewer?
Yeah, and I don't
So
think
what are
that's
we
what's
doing?
happening here. I don't think that's what's happening here.
Well, no. Well, yeah, it is. It's going up through the middle of the property.
We don't have any information about where it's gonna go.
I got a map right in front of me.
Yeah, but the lines of where the service lines end is at the property.
Well, yeah,
line.
well, no, but from where they go there, we don't know where they're going, but
Right.
they're positioned to go not up 7th. Correct?
There's no proposal to add mains in Seventh
Yeah,
as a
that's
part
what
of
I'm
this.
saying.
That's right.
This is like a baby step to get the project that was revoked by him. I'm a little confused on why this is even happening right now, because I thought he revoked the project. And now we're looking at sewer water,
Yeah,
which was a big deterrent of what we had a question about, and also the improvement of Third Street, which we had a question about.
yeah.
And
Let's
now
take
we're
those one at
putting
a
in sewer,
time.
water, sewer, but we're not talking about what's gonna happen to Third Street. We don't even know what's gonna get built.
No, you don't.
Many units are gonna get built, so we're gonna circle back at some point in time to talk about street improvement because of traffic involvement and all that stuff again. So I'm a little bit, I've got a lot of questions right now. And I also have people asking me if they can hook into that sewer water and who's gonna own the sewer and water.
Yeah, all right, well, let's take those one at a time.
Okay.
Let's tackle them all.
All right.
So, right now, there is no provision to have utilities built up the middle of this block and adding multiple property connections to it, the way that
Well,
was
that wouldn't be our
before.
responsibility anyway, that would be his.
If he wants to have a service line that's feeding one house that's not, 20 feet from the road, that is a situation that occurs in town already.
So,
But it's not the one that we said no to, which was to build a private utility system that we're gonna connect 19 units to and then potentially also connect
correct.
further properties to. That's not what this is at all. This is,
So we will be, what we see drawn here is what the city will absorb as far as
that's right.
our sewer water along Third to that point.
This developer will pay for these improvements. And
Just
we'll
like
talk
that.
about what's included in that when it comes to the street next, because I think that's an important point too.
Okay.
But when they're completed, we'll accept them. They're in our right of way. We will own and maintain them.
Okay.
What that means about can other people connect to them is yes, other people can connect to them. If
And
they
then-
have property that's adjacent to these and they want to use them, they can.
Then they're working with the city at that point.
They're
to
working
do
with
that.
us. That's
Okay.
right.
All right.
And they don't have to make any side deals. And that was one of the other complicated things about the other project that's gone now.
Yep.
Well, this wouldn't affect those people on either side of Sixth or Seventh going up anyways, and it wouldn't really benefit them.
It's not, I think you could make a case that it benefits them a little bit, but it's not something they could connect to.
No.
It makes it easier to build something that they connect to, because it's 300 feet closer, but it's not, they're not gonna be able to hook up to it. So really, the only person we're talking about is on the south side of Third Street. There's undeveloped property that could potentially use this. I really don't know how useful it is. They'd have to pump up to get to it, but cheaper to do that than to go down to Second Street. So it's a
Yeah.
possibility that someone might do that too.
So you have the map open. On the vertical line, where is the road that doesn't exist?
Right here,
Which,
7th Avenue West.
where's your mouse?
Can't really see it, can you? All
No,
right,
I
I'm gonna
can't
open
see
a
it.
different map.
It's that dotted line.
Oh, it's the dotted line, okay.
It's
I
light.
I just thought you were trying to point it with your mouse and I couldn't see it.
I was, and yeah, was not visible.
So it's that, there's three lines, it's the middle of them, the middle line?
Yeah.
Okay,
think so.
all right, that's enough, I got it.
And that
Here you
has-
can see it. So this black line here that you can see in between the house and the shed is the east. It's the middle of the block. It's the east line of the property that they're talking about developing. And then you can see this little trail that's heading up 7th Avenue is what's there already. So it's this piece here that would potentially be improved with the utilities.
Well,
So
how,
switch
okay,
back
now
to
that you, can you flip the, is it?
I sure
maybe if
can.
you Flip back? This is where I'm not very good with space.
Yeah,
So when this goes up to C, where is C? I'm just trying to get a feeling of where we're talking?
There is no C, so, I mean, we don't know what
He has it on here.
yeah, but it's not something I'd be comfortable defining based on the information they've provided.
Okay. So that's getting a little vague then.
John, what would you say a feasible length of a water or sewer service line that would be connected to Third Street would be?
You're saying how far could they go up the hill?
Yeah, with a service line.
I think they could go pretty much as far as they want. They have to put in cleanouts every 100 feet, but I don't think there's anything that would limit them. They may have to put a booster in the house for water pressure, depending on how high, you lose half a pound a foot going up a hill. So they may have to put a booster in the house, but the sewer can certainly go several hundred feet without any problem. They just have to follow the plumbing code.
So that way this would allow them to develop all the way up on the block? Or at least bring the utilities in?
What our zoning ordinance says is that they have to have access to a public street and they have to have access to municipal wastewater. I don't think that those are defined super well, but there's definitely a point here where, in my judgment, they wouldn't be having access to a public street or access to municipal sewer by running it all the way to the top of the block. That seems different than what the zoning ordinance says. But if they put a lot that's 100 feet back from Third Street, that seems, I could probably find 10 examples of that in town where that same thing happens.
That's fine. And just once again, because I'm bad with space, what would be 100 feet? You have the map.
This is
open.
100 feet right here.
Okay, where's
So-
your mouse? Oh, there it is, way up there?
Right up here.
Okay.
You can see the little numbers for the PID. It's right above that.
Oh, I
It'd be about 100 feet.
Okay. There's also a glare.
Yeah.
Our glare
Okay,
from our
so if you
lights
look over
compressor.
here,
Wouldn't you know?
It's about right where this little, whatever this little structure is right here.
Okay.
That's about 100 feet. So not the first set, you've got the developed Everson property here. And if you would imagine, like, what's the next lot right above them? That's about what I would see.
Okay. It helps. All right.
So the question I have then is if we have a sewer water map here, how this is being laid out, at what point in time do we get information on driveway placement and stuff like that?
When they apply for a land use permit.
Okay.
And that gets back to the potential for a licensing agreement.
Which, if they wanted to use 7th Avenue as a driveway to access higher up the property, they'd need to get a license agreement from you. That wouldn't be an administrative approval.
But if they wanna come off a third, they could.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of examples of even having an easement across private property be considered access to a public street.
Yeah.
Oh, so then, yeah, great, the one you're looking at. So this utility run, and this is why I was starting to ask you where 7th hit.
Yeah,
It doesn't go quite all the way
not
over
quite.
even to 7th.
Right.
It looks like pretty close to 300 feet to me.
Short? Is that what you're trying to say?
No,
Oh,
of utilities. It starts a little bit before the block starts, but our blocks are about 300 feet east-west, and this one's just a little short of getting there. So if somebody wanted to continue to develop these utilities further, could add on to it and keep going west. It would be a short run to get to 7th Avenue if you wanted to run up 7th Avenue. I mean, it certainly is getting closer to making that a possibility, but it's still a very expensive proposition. And we know over here that rock is a for sure thing.
so benefiting the property owner on the south side is maybe not particularly practical or useful. It doesn't go far enough. Their property goes.
Their property
quite a ways
goes to
west.
7th Avenue, and then they have another piece that's on the other side of 7th Avenue. We do have examples of places where people have accessed our utilities from further away than that, so it's not that it's out of the question completely. You go to the end of 2nd Street, for instance, where 15th Avenue is, and you head down below 2nd Street, and there's two properties down there that both are pumping sewer up to 2nd Street, that both have long water service connections to connect to the mains that are not right in front of their properties. So it's feasible, potentially possible. There's not a lot that could be added, though. We're talking about one structure at a time that can do something like that. So it's not 10 new units that are going to get added on that piece of property without doing more mains.
Because we don't know what's being built there when we think about traffic, and when I think of that space, you're talking about just that little rise along there. And I think we're all in agreement that based on standard traffic or traffic standards, we don't have an issue. But I think we agree based on neighborhood comments, we do. And we also, I believe, do because it just isn't a 2-car lane passing street,
Right.
that alone. And stop me if I'm saying this wrong, but I thought there was an agreement with this that up to, is it the end of 7th or just where these water mains go in, there's an agreement by the developer to add 3 feet?
Yeah,
Say that
so
again.
that's what's on the drawing right now. You can see the proximate existing roadway lines. The lighter gray shaded is what would be removed from existing pavement, and the darker shaded is what would be added, approximately 3 more feet on the north side of it, to the extent that they're doing this improvement, so not quite all the way to 7th Avenue. So there's that piece plus the remaining block between 7th and 8th that was part of the conversation when we were talking about this being 19 or 21 units being added here. Now that it's 3, 4 units, we don't really know how many units.
Well, it looks like it could be up to 6. If it says 3, 1, or 2 family lots. And
Yeah.
I don't know what does family lot mean? You said it is an actual term.
What our zoning allows is to build a single-family home or a duplex on an R1 lot.
So that's the definition. But that family is another way of saying R1 lot. I mean,
That's how we're defining what a residential unit is. I don't think we want to get too far into what the word family means necessarily, but it's just a typical understanding of a single-family home or a duplex. And I think one of the important things to remember is in our zoning in R1, a duplex you're not selling the units with their own piece of property separately. They're considered one structure. So there's not 6 separate lots that get built here if they're duplexes. There's only 3 still.
but you could do 2 per lot.
You could
That's how I
do
got the
2
6.
living units per lot, yes.
So you could do 6 duplexes because you said they're considered one? No,
No, you
I
could
did
do.
my math the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
about
We
that.
doubled it twice there.
Yeah, okay. And then we don't know how the street would work on that. The other plan was more, but they wouldn't have all come down this direction anyways, but now that's potentially 2 or 3 separate driveways coming through. Potentially, we don't know.
Right.
And I'm thinking more about the street than I am asking about details of this work, but I think the council, that we need to have a conversation that we started with about this project to begin with, is do we widen this street to at least be 2-car passable or some, whatever, or do we have need for curb and gutter or whatever, have a conversation. If it's only going to go not even to 7th, what about getting it out to 8th?
Yeah, I think that
that's
is
an
the question
unfinished
that's left on the
conversation.
table.
And I also think that very strongly that you do something like this not later. You do this as a project together. And we had a lot of concern about wetland again and runoff that way and water and where it goes. And this, once again, has nothing in it around that, which you said because we're simply talking about utilities. But once the utilities go in, you basically said yes to the project, because then after that, all you're doing is hampering it. So even though we don't know what it is, we're basically saying yes to it. For me anyways, to say yes to this part of it. And that gets back to me, a lot of issues, one of which, of course, is water runoff. We don't know what will be going on here, and then what part of this, what work would need to be done on that to properly, what part does the road itself play in that? I mean, if nothing's done and water can just keep running out right into a road, once something is done up above here, and it always influences water runoff. It just feels like before we kind of had more idea of what, we did know what was going on, now we really don't
Right.
at all. But some of the same issues, which is, I guess Craig has said as well, still exist on this. And 3 feet, which I think you started to answer, what did we, I have the LHB piece up here, but what was the width with that?
That was 20 feet. This is 19 in this section, approximately. And I think that was one of the questions I had for John, that he's provided this drawing to try to illustrate a little bit better, is what does it mean to widen it 3 feet when it's not a consistent width? And so this drawing is saying it's about 16 feet wide, and we're gonna add 3 feet to it. So I'm saying, well, that's telling me there's gonna be a 19-foot pavement here for this chunk.
And what we did with LHB was 20,
Was 20.
and that was just, that is based on allowing 2 cars, just 2 cars to pass. How do we set the 20? I need a reminder.
There's a moderate amount of arbitrariness in that decision.
Where would 19 leave you?
I think that you can pass 2 vehicles on a 16-foot road, but it's tricky and uncomfortable, and they might have to make, if they're both big trucks, they might have to make a little space for each other. I think 19 is much more likely to accommodate the type of traffic you'd see up there, at least when it's the summertime. When there's not any curbs, though, the plowing can be as wide as we want it to be. So it's wider than a lot of like gravel roads you'd see out a Forest Service road, for instance.
But that's not what we're talking about, so I don't want to get
But just to
distracted
give you
on
an
that.
idea of
Yeah.
what does it feel like, it's not a super wide road, but it's wider than.
And we can't just,
Right now, when you meet somebody there, one person has to stop. You have to pull over and stop, let them go by.
Yeah.
I drive through there all the time, and that's
Yep.
how you gotta do it.
My car is 7 feet mirror to mirror wide.
It's just a car.
Yeah, a snowplow truck might be closer to the 11 feet.
And you
Without-
can't just push back the snow as far as you want either. And
I mean,
wouldn't matter.
it doesn't have to shrink like some of our roads typically do in the winter time.
Has there been any notification to any of the rest of the property owners along Third Street to let them know that this is a possibility?
No,
In the sense of if they wanted utilities to go in? And, I mean, to me, and I'm just thinking efficiency, you know, you don't do this twice or 3 times. You don't figure out the width and what needs to be on this road a second time. You work all these things out and more efficiently do them all at once. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Well, comment I would have is that this is, once this gets put in, it's a beginning to start a development on this property. And we've already gone through this lengthy process talking about development on this property, where we talked about traffic, we talked about accessing, regressing out of the property. We talked about clearing land, runoff, where's it gonna go, all those questions. And I know all that stuff gets answered when they come forth with a building permit and land use issue, but this opens the door to all of that, right?
yeah, I don't think all those things get answered anymore. I mean, when we were talking about a comprehensive development plan, then we get those questions answered. When we're talking about single-family or duplex houses, we don't talk about runoff, we don't talk about
Well,
traffic,
no.
we don't talk about any of that
Well,
stuff.
here's what I'm getting at. I know we're talking about single-family houses and duplexes, but I have no guarantee that that's what's gonna get built here.
No,
No.
and what you have a
So the point
guarantee
I'm
is that it
making
has to
is
comply with the
The
zoning.
track history here is, for me anyway, is he can tell me what he wants to do there, but that doesn't necessarily that I'm gonna take that 100% to the bank, that that's what's actually gonna happen. Because I don't know what he's gonna do here.
Then there's
And I
no
don't
need
think
to
any-
rely on it.
Any of us here knows what he's
No.
gonna do here.
I don't think so either.
So we don't even see a driveway accessing this property yet. So that has to happen at some point in time. And where is it gonna go? Up Seventh, maybe off of Third, maybe up,
Well,
you know, those are the questions.
Seventh, right, you're not without a licensing agreement.
Well, no, I know.
Yeah.
But then here comes
So
a
then you're
license
gonna know.
agreement, then here comes, you know, then all these pieces start. This is a micro piece of what needs to be done. That was a major problem with the other 2 proposals. Sewer, water, Third Street, regress, at traffic, you know, all that stuff. So now we're just looking at one little piece of it here. Let's get these lines snubbed in, and that's fine. And then maybe the development changed, maybe what's gonna get built's changed, but I don't know that. I don't know what, you know, he could come back and say, I want 22 units in here and I want a variance.
He could, yeah. Our ordinance allows
I have
people to
sewer
ask
water
that
now,
question.
so that's one less thing you guys gotta worry about. So I'm not,
I see a big lot and I see a guy that wants to bring water on so he can build some homes on it.
Yep.
And
I'm not against
I'm
that.
okay
If he
with
wants
that.
to build some homes on it, that's fine, but I don't know what he's building on it. No idea. You know, and that's the issue we had with with the whole project to begin with. A lot of questions people had with, you know, all the issues that affect traffic, affect, you know, quantity of homes affects how this is gonna play out. That's my perspective on it, and right now, I don't know what the quantity is gonna be. I'm being told 2 or 3 homes, but, you know, mathematically, that doesn't justify the amount of money that's being poured into this piece of land, but that's not my problem, that's somebody else's problem. But I'm looking at density is the only way to make this work. So I'm concerned about the next process of what we gotta go through. So,
Or don't,
you know,
because it doesn't require that from us.
Putting in these utilities would allow the property owner to build quite a few things with administrative land use permits that wouldn't require any additional review, that wouldn't provide any information about traffic or stormwater management or any of those things. That's how our zoning ordinance works. So,
Right.
yeah, that's for sure, that is, and that's exactly the same with this as it was with the previous conversation too. We have an idea about what she wants, maybe even more evidence in that case about what her intentions are, what she's done, but there's no guarantees. She has a right to use that property however our zoning allows it,
right,
including sell it to somebody else and let them do it. And that, there's no difference here. This is exactly the same. We don't have any guarantees about what they're gonna build, other than that it will comply with our zoning ordinance that we have control over.
Yeah, and I guess I'm good with that. I mean, I feel like we created that ordinance for a reason, and we have it there, and somebody wants to develop this property, they're asking for these utilities to come in, and I hear what you're saying, Craig. I do.
well, I'm fine with that, except that what I'm not fine with then, do we not care about what we're gonna do with Third? This little patchwork here is very minimal.
Yeah.
This is putting really anything towards the, I mean, they're patching up what they're digging up basically, and that's what they're doing. Is that something that we think is adequate to take care of whatever gets built in here? Or do we think that this project will affect the road enough that we should probably look at widening this all the way to the 8th? I don't know these answers to these questions, but we've talked about it many times.
Sure.
And we also, within that conversation, we talk about who's gonna pay for it, taxpayer gonna pay for it, is this something, what's causing this to happen is the project. You know, we didn't talk about Third Street until this project came along, and now we're talking about Third Street again, so. You know, those
Yep.
are issues that go with the road, and that was an issue that we talked about many times, so does this mean we need to do more work to the road? I don't know. You know,
One of the things you talked about originally was, is this an issue that we need to take care of regardless of the project? And I don't know whether you've got an answer to that question, but that's still the question that's in front of you.
right,
If you do decide you want to take care of it regardless of the project, you have a plan from your engineers for what they would recommend that you do. You have an estimate of what it would cost.
You have a
We
sketchy.
can do it.
Yes, we have a sketchy design in the sense that they just took, they did a low ball for us. So we get numbers and we know that the cost is probably much higher too. It's probably a low ball estimate, but it certainly helped get the general concept in. And just like that plan, this running utilities really doesn't help the other property owners. It falls too short, just like that design concept was specifically designed for the Petters project. It didn't show what it would, putting utilities through for the remaining property, so it wasn't like a neutral design. Those are really important questions to me, and knowing once again if the other property owners would want to do anything, especially if this much of the work is being done. If you want to talk about development, you don't just do it piecemeal, it's not cost effective, and you don't think about the potential of the other people there. I mean, why would you do all this and then find out someone else wanted access? And not take, if you're gonna spend some money on the road, you spend a bit of the money, how well do we need to do this? And not find ourselves one more time potentially having to even spend more? Those are too big of questions for me tonight to feel comfortable with this. I'm assuming there was not a requirement to notice neighbors, or was there? So that's fine, but I would still want to ask them that before I would want that. And, you know, just adding 3 feet doesn't sound like a very well-engineered idea about what that street would really need. Just sounds like a, well, here, kind of a, I don't know. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of thought put into that. I appreciate it, but it would seem to me that if we, and so it's not really a comment about putters, but just if we want to do this, we need to get more engineer look at that. And I'm still kind of unclear what happens one more time about water run, because the minute you change land around, you change where the water flows. And that's all I've heard is what a problem it is, some of this water coming down and getting all the way down to Second.
Do you know if you have water pressure problems there? You don't know? I mean, it's okay.
It's
Seems to be fine right now.
It's fine for the places that are connected to it, but it's the dead end spot, so. No, I don't think there'd be any issues heading west. There could very well be issues if you tried to go higher up that hill.
Higher up, yeah.
You know, the engineer just mentioned those boosters like we had talked about
Yeah.
earlier that Chris Gildem had contemplated as well for that. Oh. Okay. I had written a couple other comments in here for myself. Let me just look through here, make sure I didn't miss one of them. Oh, okay, how's that one too? All right. I am not comfortable with this as it stands without knowing what there might be as far as additional interest in any hookups or just moving any farther along Third Street without making a decision as a council how we want Third Street to look between, I guess, Sixth and Eighth? Am I saying that right? That this would need to be, I don't know if holistic is the right word, but a project done more jointly, not just here, you do your little thing and then that's that. I don't feel comfortable at all with that. And that would answer my question about the, you know, well, it'd be 19 feet thereabouts if it was coordinated with any improvements done on the rest of that street. I just think that's more appropriate to the neighborhood and also more cost efficient, not doing things multiple times. And it would be nice to know how many driveways you could theoretically, you know, if you don't use 7th Street license, how many driveways are you going to have coming out there in a fairly close space? Before it was going to be just a loop around, kind of one-way loop around, and now you're looking at multiple things.
I think
Driveways.
3 is probably all you could realistically put in that spot.
So 2 different, yeah. Which still seems like a lot relative to nothing now on a street that's not very big. Like a normal street. Any comment from the rest of the council?
Yeah, it seems like the same tired plan without any answers to any of the original questions of traffic and runoff, road width.
I would contemplate continuing this and having a more solid conversation about those items.
How do you
Which
wanna
basically-
continue? I don't know how to provide more than we've already provided to talk about road width. And I don't think that you should expect to talk about runoff unless we're gonna conduct some more work ourselves on that.
Well, I certainly think just what the city wants to do about that whole street area, I think we can, that's what I'm thinking about, which takes care of quite a bit of it. And I would want to ask neighbors if they had interest at all in participating if those utilities were extended somewhat further, or not, because this would be the time to do it. That's how I would look at it. But would like the rest of the council's thoughts about that.
I think, I think there's been lots of opportunity for people that want utilities in this area to have come forward and said, hey, we'd like to get in on that. It's not, this isn't just happened, right?
But they don't know it's happening now.
No.
And we know that in one, they were noticed once, but the other one
Yeah.
wasn't really
And
official.
the other thing, I don't wanna get in the habit of maybe, punishing private developers or, private, he's maybe just building himself a home, right? So.
But
for all
that's
we
not
know.
what's happening here. This is a development. We don't know who's gonna be in
Okay, would
in
you
it.
like any feedback from me, or do you wanna?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry. It was inappropriate.
I think we've had plenty of opportunity to talk about third as well, and last I thought we talked about it, we were doing it. So I don't know if that's changed or not, but I thought that's what we were wanting to do. So, seems like there still would be an opportunity now that he's gonna rip it up and put sewer in. That would be a good chance for us to jump in there and put our road together. I don't know. So, I don't think they're connected, and, I'm not gonna get in the way of somebody wanting to build homes. So, like, he's got the lot, he needs water and sewer. I would support it.
And I think that's the question I have is I don't think we did decide that. I'm not saying
Sure.
I'm not, we didn't definitely decide nor decide how we completely, you talked about the city could absorb that cost. We just didn't decide. And I'd like to know that.
Yeah.
That's all, because I think that's a more efficient way to do it.
We had a lot of discussion about it, and
Yeah.
the discussion also led to how to finance it. We talked about special assessing, we talked about all kinds of ways to maybe pay for this. We had the developer offer some money towards it, and now what I see here, though, this is kinda like patching what they're digging up, basically, is what this is.
It's widening it a little bit.
It's widening it a little bit and patching it. Me personally, which seems kinda weird to ask this question, I guess, but if I have an empty lot somewhere in town and I'm gonna put water sewer to it, don't we as a city kinda like wanna know, wouldn't we wanna know where the driveway or access point to this lot is gonna be? Don't you think you would wanna know that? I mean, for me, it would help me out looking at this. Where is his access point gonna be? Cause if he doesn't do it off a third, then he's gotta come back, we gotta have discussions about how to use Seventh, or maybe Sixth, Cause I think he has permission to use that land that he hasn't bought yet. That was kinda what we talked about at previous meetings, cause there was gonna be a road looping around this whole thing at one point in time. So now we're looking at sewer water, but we see no road, we see no access, we don't, And that would help us in the Third Street conversation, wouldn't it? I mean, it would help me anyway. I mean, I don't,
When you want more detail, then there's a full proposal.
well, right now,
To
we're just
develop the
seeing,
whole
right now,
block.
we're just seeing sewer water, we're not seeing
Right.
anything else.
There is no anything else.
Yeah, well, okay. There may not ever be, or there may.
There may
be,
not
or
ever
may-
be, yeah. Or
Yeah.
they may make another application, we don't
I
know.
don't know, okay. So was this a continuation of a previous application, or is this a new application?
This is all brand new.
Okay.
The planned unit development is,
It's gone.
Well, I know
Yeah.
that, but then when I saw this come along, and then I read some thing that we had approved some conditional use permit to move ahead with sewer water and that kind of thing, I thought, well, yeah, we did, but that all got pulled. So did we start over doing that? There was a
I'm not sure
memo
what-
that I read about that, and I was a little confused about,
I
I
don't know
was
what
either
that is you're
asleep at the
talking
wheel, because I didn't vote for any conditional use permit for, anything.
Not for this project.
No, I
Right.
didn't know the timing on how
Yeah.
that all timing went out.
right,
Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay, wow.
I'd like this conditioned on a city's final decision about the rest of the street through Eighth, like you were saying, Ben. And, a notification just to, you know, this is your last official notification. I mean, you could do it obviously at another time, but just in an efficiency standpoint for anyone on Third Street. You know, this project would bring it almost all the way to Seventh. Here's one notice to let you know this would be a more efficient time.
I mean, that's easy enough to do. There's only 2 property owners. So, and I know they both have an opinion, but we can reach out to them ourselves and clarify that very quickly. The street, what I know you gave me clear direction on was you don't want to special assess the cost of the improvements to the adjacent property owners. That was clear. Once the conditional use permit for the Bjorkberg project disappeared, it was definitely not clear whether or not we're still doing this. So that feels like a conversation the council still has to complete is, do you want to widen Third Street? If so, this would be the time to do it, absolutely. Like, let's coordinate our project with this project and just do it all at the same time.
yeah. I do think that the last time we just, you know, we started looking at our maps and the overlapping maps and like all the things that needed to be done, and it's like that kind of faded, especially with the PUD going away. So, but it's back with this project. I think it is a little tricky to involve the road with the water. I mean, I know they go together, it's really obvious that way, but
And he's
This
already
person-
made offers about it.
yeah, but, you know, it is a property that is, the property owner is asking for water to the property in order for them to develop it. And I think we've got a history here, and so that makes us a little less willing to just run for it. But I think if we were approaching this in a more neutral way and just saying, here's a property owner that wants to develop this property, they're asking for water to go in, you know, that's more the question. I mean, obviously they're tearing up the road, so then that's an opportunity, and we can think about jumping in on that, that's great.
That's how I view it.
But I think it's also, I don't know, I mean, to have the approval dependent upon the road seems tricky to draw those together. So maybe we can just do that.
Well, if it's dependent upon the road and you're the ones that are gonna do it, then it's dependent upon your action.
Yeah.
So what do you need for me to move forward on that question?
And I think part of it is, like you said, he's interested in getting his utilities in. I get what you're saying. And I think in that sense, it is neutral for me. It's just, we talked about this road and we talked about the importance of if, frankly, any development goes in there. And it was actually one of the property owners, existing ones, who let me know very clearly that they did not feel this steep street was safe at this point in time. And so I want to decide what exactly would we want on there? And would we do, just make it a joint project, but we haven't officially ever said that.
I see.
And exactly, and then we just talk about gutters and, curb and gutter or not, or, just whatever. We've never committed to anything. Is there interest in having that conversation? I mean, you thought we were committed, right, Ben?
Well, I thought we'd had a conversation that just said, look, regardless of what happens, I mean, I think where Third Street and Bjorkburg got tied together was when the developer offered some monies for some of the project. But I think I thought we'd always said, look, if this wasn't happening, and a couple of times it didn't look like it was going to, I thought we were still on the same page and said, well, if this is a substandard road and one of the most obvious ones, and somebody's gonna build something here eventually, we should be looking at this road. So, I'm still a fan of doing it. I understand if there's people that wanna hook up to the water, it's open, we got an open hole, let's hook up to it. If they don't want to, that's so be it, right? But, that road is no bueno.
So, so we just have to officially commit to that.
Let's do it.
So but I don't think that's something for tonight.
No, probably not. But,
But,
If it's not, then do you need any more information about that?
yeah, I think we need to look at that rather rough design we got and make final decisions. I know I would want to look at that again and make sure, because there were questions about like curb and gutter or not, and actual width and exactly where. I just want, I'm not gonna say no to either a street project either that I'm not totally,
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, would be.
Well, with that project, we were looking also at Seventh being something being used as a road, and Sixth also being a one-way road, and the erosion on that hill in that little spot there, and a way of curb and gutter on the right side, but I don't know what's on the left side, right? I don't think there's anything on the left side where that driveway goes up into that house that's on the right, where Sixth goes up.
There's curb and gutter on Sixth
On
until
both
you get to
sides?
Third,
Huh?
on both sides,
Okay.
until you get to Third.
Well, I know it's new all the way to the Gunflint Trail on the bottom side. The upper
Third-
side- Upper side's new too.
Third doesn't have curb and gutter,
What's that?
Third Street.
No, but where Sixth goes up, and then where Third at that point goes to the Gunflint Trail.
Yeah, there's
None of that has
not curb and gutter
Okay.
heading between Fifth and Sixth on Third Street
Okay.
either.
well, I would say unless there's a couple of us that feel very strongly that we don't want to do Third, then I think we should separate the issue of Third Street from this project, that we got this proposal.
I think they could be stair-step together, like you could say like, okay, we are, gonna do this. And since we've now said we're gonna do this, like we're gonna say okay to the water, well, now we know we're gonna do the road. And those could be two separate things, and we could just decide how we're gonna do the road.
I think then the question becomes, I think, more clearly defining what this development agreement would entail for them to do, and I think that's one of the pieces we would have to get better clarified, depending, excuse me, what we did with the road. And, and the costs and the whole deal. So I don't think it's something, if we went that, kind of like you're saying, I don't think that's something we could decide tonight. It would have to be better detailed out.
Better detailed out. I mean, we're not gonna get a better detail on a concept for the road unless we wanna spend more money on design, which we would have to do in order to hire a contractor to build something.
Which is what we knew the first time.
Right. It's still tied into this project because we're contemplating doing them at the same time. And we're contemplating a portion of the responsibility of that to be on this developer, which they're offering to do here for us. But when in their context, we're not doing anything to Third Street. They're just gonna widen the piece that they're affecting. So if we're gonna do something to Third Street, independent of whether or not they install utilities, I think the obligation's on us to tell them, this is what we want Third Street to look like.
So we need to kind of figure that, and I'm not saying in a long,
Does that mean
drawn
that
out.
you need to reconstruct the developer agreement?
I don't think that we necessarily need to change any words in this development agreement, but we do want the plans to show what the work is that we intend to do. And it's possible that might affect the cost estimates as well. If I'm this developer though, I'm gonna want some kind of indication from us that we wanna do this deal. And I don't think we've given much of that tonight, so I'd
And-
recommend if you do wanna move this direction, like, let's be able to communicate with this guy, here are the things we're gonna do, and in the timeline, we're gonna do them to keep this moving.
And the costs, how those divide out then, I mean, that was an issue before, and I'm just assuming it is again, right? You wanna know, the developer wants to know how much this is sitting with them and how much, the whole thing again. And I would assume that should be spelled out in the developer's agreement more clearly than this is. If we went with what if the street.
What's clear in here is the work that they're intending to do, that we're gonna require them to provide us a financial security for. And it includes the installation of the utilities and the widening of the road 3 feet. So, if we're gonna build it 20 feet instead of 19, are we gonna accept their contribution and the rest of it will be our responsibility? If we were gonna do this anyway, are we gonna go back and want curb and gutter to be added, and do we expect them to contribute to that? So you can have those conversations still.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is we were just gonna do curb and gutter on the south side of the road, right? Like that made
Yeah.
more sense.
Yeah.
Given the terrain topography and also help navigate some of those potential water runoff issues.
Right.
Right. Which we knew were gonna potentially be defined a little more when there was gonna be stormwater ponds and outlets, and now
Right. No, we don't know,
we don't get to know that.
but we still know that that's a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, to put an idea forth, we could ask the MSA right now to take our plan and give us a quote to turn it into a construction drawing for, let's build that with curb on the south side and put a cost estimate together. And if we were gonna take that concrete step, that might be some show of this is something we're interested in doing still.
I'd support that.
Has this become two separate things to vote on as far as, like, we'd like to move forward working out a plan for Third Street, and then this is separate from that, or how does that word out?
Well, I think the first part is, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first is to support, the agreement as described, and then send back with city staff and with Mike to say, look, we're committed to doing this road, help us work together and get this thing done. You know, we can work around your timetable, we can, you know,
Yeah. So they are kind of,
here's the specs, here's what we want, yeah, how can we play together?
Well, and to me, though, that's still the missing piece. I wouldn't want to approve this unconditionally, knowing that we don't know what the costs would be, or would he want to know, if he doesn't know the costs involved to him with this road? You know, that's,
Yeah, I understand that too.
Well,
That's the
are
only-
you suggesting they'd be different than what he's already offered to do?
yeah, it might be. So, I mean, cause that's, yeah, if I was him, I'd wanna know, just put it that way. And I
Yeah.
can't believe we wouldn't want that in the agreement, and he wouldn't either. This one's a little too loose not to figure this out and make sure everyone's on clear footing, so you can move forward more efficiently.
One of the assumptions I'm leaning on is the one where you said you don't want to special assess the neighboring properties for the cost of these improvements.
right. I think that's still,
So,
Well, the special assessments would fall upon 3 owners, right?
4 maybe if you,
4, and the one on the south side has a lot of front footage, so,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I'm not questioning that decision, but I'm wondering,
Yeah, no, I'm just
how does it
saying.
apply to this property?
right.
Yeah, cause all of a sudden then, they're asking, you know, kinda gets back without meaning to, you're coming at like, we brought this up because of this project, right? But we would we, or, and then like you said, would we or wouldn't we do this, and then, I don't, feels not circular till you say it that way, I mean, would we,
Yeah,
you know, start to do this, some of this otherwise, so do we absorb it all and they just pay their utility for, I don't know. How's that work? I'm having a
If-
pause in the action on this.
yeah, if it's the city's position that we're responsible to make this road widening improvement, and we don't want to special assess any property owners, then I don't see it being tied to this development agreement at all, other than coordinating the construction timing so that we only have 1 project instead of 2. But he's already has costs in the development agreement to pay for the things that are clearly to his benefit and are not about widening the road, even some that is about widening the road. So we wouldn't ask him to pay a special assessment.
Not unless we're gonna do everybody else, right?
I mean, I don't know. When it was a bigger project, I think that was a different question. Now that it's not clear to me at all.
Okay.
But I would see one way that you could do it is he's responsible for the utilities. He's responsible for the portion of the pavement that's above the utilities, including the pavement that doesn't exist yet today, and we'll be responsible for the rest of it, including any curb and gutter we want to put in, and the rest of the widening,
As far as getting the work done.
as far as paying for it, yeah.
But then, if we went through, let's say, just to help me understand, if we went through a path of assessing everyone, then he'd be in that, right?
Mhm.
He'd be part of that.
Yeah,
Okay, just wanna make sure I didn't, because you said that would be it for him, like, well, wait a second, if we went that path, he would be part of it.
yeah.
Okay, just so I'm tracking, right? Then I would want to, is it feasible for us to meet for, I don't mean a special meeting, but to have this be an item of full enough for us to make intelligent decisions on soon?
The next concrete decision you'd have to make is hiring an engineering company to do an actual design for us. So there's a design here for the water and sewer, but there's not one for the street west of this work. Ours is just a concept and an estimate, but it's not something you could hand to a contractor and say, build. So
Right.
we would need to pay for that work. And so what I would propose is we get a quote from an engineer, and MSA makes sense to me because they're already here doing this project. So there's only one engineer involved. To do the rest of that design, you see that quote and you approve it. That'd be the next step that would be in front of you. And I don't see any reason you couldn't do that in 2 weeks. But there's not gonna be a design in 2 weeks to look at and say, okay, there's what it is, let's hire somebody.
But you'd have an estimate of it.
You'd have a quote,
Decent,
yeah.
yeah.
And then in that time frame, you can notice the property owners as well?
Yeah. Sure can.
So we just table it for 2 weeks.
Seems like what we're saying.
Craig, Bill?
John, you have enough information to get me a quote?
I think so. I'll follow up tomorrow just to make sure that I got the limits and everything fully understood, but yeah, in general, I do.
Okay.
So this allows us to decide officially a commitment to Third Street work or not. And then still leaves open-ended how that would be paid for. Right? The goal, and I'm asking to make sure, because this is what's going through my head, the goal for this would be a coordinated effort then. And even in a sense of timing.
Right, so it would coordinate the
Yeah.
It makes
utilities and the.
a lot of sense.
road.
For everyone. And you're saying no curb and gutter on the north side, right? What do you, I mean, if you did, what do you do with it? This is just came into my head. So what do you do with like 7th then? Because it's still a street.
You
We'd
gotta
put a
in-
curb cut through
You gotta
there.
put in
You'd
the,
put the curb cut either way.
Yeah.
you
Okay.
gotta rough them in, yep,
Yeah, no matter what. Okay.
just like they already are coming off of Eighth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot wider, the throat is a lot wider than what the road actually is.
Yes, it
In
is.
that one spot, you know, it's already there, the line's already been drawn.
yep.
Bill? Does that sound like a path forward or no, or questions?
It's a path forward, I don't know where it's leading. There's a lot of questions still.
Yes.
All right, you need a motion on that?
Yeah,
Okay. I put a motion to table the Petters Third Street Development Agreement for 2 weeks until our next meeting.
with the thought that we will accomplish those 2 items.
Yes.
With
Seek a
noticing.
quote for the design work for the road. Contact the adjacent neighbors, get an answer about utilities.
And if any of that doesn't work, then it will have to wait. But I mean, that'd be something unexpected, or whatever.
So the design work that we had done already, which was what? 21,000?
Yeah.
Are we using any of that information?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So we've got, we're not just gonna throw that away and
Nope.
start in with a whole new,
No,
yeah.
that, we would have had to do this regardless.
Well, I know, but we
Yeah,
already
that
did,
step
we already did
was-
some of it, and we
Yep.
spent some money on it, and then all this thing went down the toilet, and here we sit spending a lot of money for something that never happened, and I don't really wanna re-spend money on something that we already did once, so hopefully we can utilize that information
Yeah.
towards this, and so it's
We can use it
money that
all.
was spent at least in a positive direction.
Yeah.
for what we're doing here. Okay.
One of the most useful things about it is it gives you a ballpark cost estimate, whether or not we think that's
Right.
gonna be right, at least you're in the neighborhood of what this project's gonna take, and so
Right.
you'll know that's what it's gonna cost us to move forward on this. If we're not interested in that, or if we don't know how we're gonna pay for that, then maybe we don't spend the money to do the design, and we just say we're not gonna widen it. I'm not hearing you say that, so this is the step to take.
Okay.
A second for Ben's motion,
No, second that.
okay? Now, if I can restate it correctly. A continuation on this, until our next meeting for a quote on Third Street improvement and notice to adjacent property owners along Third Street. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone, I really appreciate that.
G is skipped.
That, I believe, is the end of all things on our list. Move to council and staff reports. Normally I don't start, but tonight I would like to, simply because Patrick's going to show us the bonding video that we made. And I'd like to get everyone up to speed on the wastewater treatment. So, I think that was last week, Amy Klobuchar tried to get a hold of me through the office, and then when she finally did call me, I didn't pick up the phone. So we've been playing telephone tag, but she did call to let all of us know here in the city that the budget, federal budget, she has placed in $1 million for the wastewater treatment plant in their budget. So,
Good news.
and I'll try one more time to get a hold of her. I'd like to share the bonding video as well. And, bonding video, yeah. So then Mike and I participated with Linda Jurek and Dustin Nelson and Karen Blackburn do you guys already know this? We put together a video to entice the legislators' bond touring group.
Yeah, the bonding committee does a tour to look at potential projects they might add to the bond.
So to get them to
Okay.
come up here,
Mm-hmm.
the chamber had an idea, let's make a video. And so we did, and I'd like to play it. It went out, it's already been out. Apparently there's the Senate, the House, and one more. There's 3.
The governor
tours.
also has
There we go.
his
So
idea of what goes in there.
it went to all 3 of them, right? I think we got confirmed. And we did get a nice note back from Senator Hochschild. He saw it as well. So anyways, want to play that quick, Patrick?
Everyone who lives here, they live here for a reason, and it's Lake Superior is one of the main reasons, and of course the woods up above. But no matter where you are in this county, the lake means everything to everyone here, and we think it's pretty darn special.
It's a burden for us to be able to support the amount of demand that this beautiful place creates, and we need help to support that.
Hi, I'm Linda Jurek, Executive Director of the Cook County Chamber of Commerce and Visit Cook County. We live in an amazing place. You could fly in or perhaps take the Lake Superior Waterway. However, most folks choose the drive. And the drive is one of a kind. The North Shore Scenic Byway, an American byway which brings you to the quaint communities of Schroeder, Tofty, Lutzen, Grand Marais, Grand Portage, and the scenic Gunflint Trail and Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness.
So we're a small community of roughly 1,300 people. It hasn't changed much in many years. And then our entire Cook County is another maybe 5,000 plus people. And by welcoming over 1.2 million visitors, to our county, that means that there's a lot that comes in and there's a lot that doesn't go home, and that includes waste of various kinds.
90% of our land in Cook County is public land. And a recent study shows that 80% of our economy is reliant on tourism traffic. We host approximately 1.2 million visitors annually.
Our infrastructure needs to be designed to support not just our community, but the many, many visitors who come here, the many people who own cabins and property up here. We're so pleased to be the place that people want to come. We need your help to support that.
In general, the legislators understand what we do up here in Cook County because we have worked really hard to develop a relationship with them. We tell our stories, we engage them, we give them tours of our campuses. What the legislator supports up here and the relationships that we have developed with those legislators, they benefit Cook County, but they benefit the entire state because everybody loves to visit Cook County and to take advantage of what we have to offer up here.
Behind us is a new transfer station being constructed for Cook County that was made possible by bonding dollars from the state of Minnesota. So the great thing about this project was it was a collaboration between North Shore Waste, Cook County, and the state of Minnesota. We went to the county, we went to the state, we asked for help, and we've created this public-private partnership that will benefit not only the residents, but the visitors of Cook County for years to come.
It's been a few decades since our wastewater plant has had significant project work done on it. It's in need of a significant refurbishment to the tune of about $10 million worth of work. $10 million is a lot of money for a city of 1,300 to take on by itself. We're looking for $5 million from the state of Minnesota to help support this project. The rest we can get from ourselves and from other sources. Here we are at the wastewater treatment plant in downtown Grand Marais, Minnesota, right on the shore of Lake Superior. It's been about 40 years since we've had significant reinvestment, and this plant is showing its age. Because of this special location, it's all the more important that we get this right. We hope you decide to come join us. We'd love to show you this place in person.
If you haven't experienced our community, we would love to have you here.
We have never had the opportunity to host a bonding tour, and we hope that this short video has piqued your interest to select our area for the fall of 2025. Thank you very much.
So we hope that works some magic.
Yeah.
And they want to come up here and help. So.
My favorite part was when the seagulls attacked the drone over the wastewater plant.
Yeah, Matt was getting a little nervous when they were flying around on that.
Yeah, we can't share it all on video.
Yeah. So hopefully that goes over well and we have visitors. I did send a note out to our Coast Guard buddy, James Hilt, and I got an immediate answer. They're looking at things a little bit more closely now, but still moving along and still trying to get that environmental review done. He realizes the seasonality of it, but at least I got a prompt answer and he still works there and things are still there. If anyone does not know this, the Cook County EDA has contracted with North Shore Development Corporation / Jason Hale and Teresa Baida to be provided with administrative help with the EDA while they look for a new director, so things can work rather seamlessly, because obviously Teresa knows exactly where her files are at. So that's already worked very well for us, that she already put together one meeting packet and is helping us with some kind of the grant requirements from the Taconite Harbor grant. So it's really been great and made things actually working quite well for us, and we'll have that, and very possibly they'll be of some assistance in the hiring process as well. We still have to work those details out, so that's all good news. And I'll be bringing this in front of all of the council shortly when we get ourselves ready, but for the project with Taconite Harbor, there's going to be a 12-person advisory committee, and we're looking for people to fill that role. There's still all the community at large, and as a lot of stakeholder groups, but this would be a group of people committed into the project. So I'll be looking and asking for suggestions and people who might have the time and interest in that as well. And today, Mike and I had a kickoff meeting with the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway Cities Initiative Group for our project over there in the harbor by Boulder Park. And so we've got that moved. Got a couple things we need to do, but basically they know their next steps. They'll be doing an on-site visit at the end of August, and then beginning the rest of their data and information gathering. And then we hope to have an opportunity to engage the council, the park board, and the larger community, maybe about January, February, with what they've been able to put together. I think that's about the time. Anything else on that?
No, that's a good summary.
So, and that's all I have.
I have nothing, but I'll have something next.
Okay. Bill?
Arrowhead Animal didn't meet in July, but I did get an email. They're having a lot of problems with wetness on their lot up there. Said even before the rains, they had a forklift that sunk deep into the mud, and they're trying to figure out how to gain the upper hand, I guess.
Okay. Ben?
No, nothing.
Craig?
No.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. Well, I should have checked on that, I guess. Did they get the electric stuff?
Yeah.
Done? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, for the park?
Yep.
The
Yeah.
Harbor
Park yesterday, yeah, I know I didn't get an update. I was gonna go talk to Dave, but I didn't get down there to talk to him.
Yep, it's all set up, it was all set up by last weekend too,
Oh,
so.
last week? Okay,
Nice.
well, that's good.
And I'd like to just one more time call out how much I appreciate those weekly updates. I like the photos. I think it's been really great to see the things that Scott's been doing, for instance, and I think it's a great way for the community to understand just what's going on. A lot of it's not very glamorous, but it really points out we're running an operation and a pretty important one, and they are busy. And I love all the pictures in that too. So, shout out to everyone who puts that together every week. Have we gotten any more subscriptions lately, or is it kind of level? Do we need another little pitch?
It's level, but I mean, it's well subscribed, but yeah, you might be saturated.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, we'll make sure everybody hears that.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to get some of this stuff talked through.
Good.